Yeah, Tanika, the defense attorneys both argued to the jury that the prosecutor's evidence that they're going to be presenting to them in the future is a result of plea deals reached by others associated with this case. And they just urged the jury to keep that in mind as the trial goes on.
The jury found a defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. When the court found Ksoo guilty, no one realized the jury might have just signed his death sentence. Just hours after he arrived at his new prison, insiders claimed things turned deadly. Apparently, ATK finally got their revenge. Let me break it down. When the hood comes to prison, there's talk right now that Ksoo's already been harmed in prison. And honestly, it wouldn't be a shock. The man's got enemies everywhere, and just about everyone's got a bone to pick with him. Ksoo got hit with that guilty verdict for first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of 23-year-old Charles Lil Buck McCormick Jr., and that conviction came with a mandatory life bid. No parole, no appeals, that's it. Straight to life, meaning he's essentially locked up for the rest of his days. The system doesn't offer second chances for a crime like this, but it's what happened after the verdict that's truly chilling. Whispers began circulating. Rumors of a reckoning inside the prison walls. And these weren't just idle tales, they were warnings. A message sent from within, letting everyone know that the streets don't forget, and neither does prison. Because inside those concrete walls, the laws of the streets still reign supreme. Loyalty is everything, and betrayal is the ultimate sin. The backstory here is intense. This isn't just about a single shooting, it's about a war. A war between factions, between neighborhoods, between rivalries that run deep. This feud between ATK and others is laced through Jacksonville streets, leaving a trail of violence and pain. And now Ksoo, a key player in ATK, is entering a world where the consequences of his actions are about to be felt in a very real and terrifying way. The leaked footage of King Von's time behind bars gives us another glimpse into how volatile prison life can be for high-profile gang members. Today's date is February 9th, 2016. The time is 1,314 hours. I am Sergeant Crumpstar number 3069, Division 1073 shift. I will be interviewing detaining Bennett. Can you state your name and ID number? NGT. NGT. Devin Bennett, 2014-068-061. These aren't just random fights or minor squabbles. This is a glimpse into a world where every look, every word, every interaction can be a potential trigger for violence. And for someone like Ksoo, who built his reputation on defiance and disrespect, that makes him a prime target. The psychological pressure of entering this environment is almost impossible to comprehend. You're stripped of your freedom, your identity, your power. You're surrounded by people who have nothing to lose and everything to gain from seeing you fall. And the knowledge that your own father has turned against you, that he's publicly betrayed the code of the streets, only compounds the mental toll. Speaking of his father, his decision to testify against Ksoo is more than just a legal maneuver. It's a brutal violation of the most fundamental rule in street culture. It's an act that will forever brand him as a snitch, a rat, a traitor. The personal cost of this decision is immediate and devastating. When they asked him how snitching affected his family relationships, his answer showed just how completely this decision had destroyed his world. NGT, I really don't have no more relationship with my family besides family completely cut you out. NGT, the plea deal that he accepted was brutal in its simplicity. Testify against Ksoo and get a reduced sentence of 76 months, most of which he had already served, meaning he could walk free in less than a year to spend his final days with his younger children. Without the deal, he was looking at up to 60 years for his charges in both the McCormick and Rothermale cases. In the hood, family is everything. When you betray family, you don't just lose that relationship, you lose your whole identity, your whole support system, your whole reason for being. This man had basically committed social suicide to save his own life and his relationship with his younger kids. But it wasn't just about the kids. He was dealing with some serious health problems that made his situation even more desperate. NGT, I have diabetic high blood pressure. I suffer from congestive heart. NGT, For real. This man knew that his testimony would make him a marked man for the rest of his life. The case of Casanova shows how quickly situations can spiral out of control for high-profile gang members in prison. While awaiting trial at Essex County Detention Center, Casanova got into fights with Ulysses Lugo, who was connected to his own gang. These fights got extremely violent, with both inmates getting their faces slashed with razors and other inmates subsequently hurting Lugo, possibly on Casanova's orders. What makes Casanova's situation relevant to Ksoo's story is how Casanova had spoken out against his gang, which led to him being targeted. While Ksoo hadn't publicly denounced ATK, the fact that his own father had testified against him could be seen as a form of family betrayal that made him vulnerable to attacks from all sides. The gang dynamics within Florida's prison system are particularly brutal, with different factions based on geography, race, and criminal affiliations all competing for power and respect. For an ATK member like Ksoo, entering this environment meant immediately being classified by other inmates and having to navigate relationships with various groups who might see him as either an asset or a liability. The violence that Ksoo had been involved in on the streets had created enemies that extended far beyond Jacksonville.
During opening statements, both Robinson and Whitaker's attorneys alluded that the state's evidence in this case came as a result of plea deals.
We're gonna learn that Blue, this ain't his first time cooperating with law enforcement. He's done that before, so he has experience. He knows that when he's in trouble and he is caught, if I say what the government wants to hear, I get out. He's done it before, and he's going to do it again in this courtroom.
What you're gonna learn is that Dominic Barner came in on January 15th, and he told just enough about himself to get him off his case. So let him go.
During the prosecution's opening statements, Assistant State...
The ongoing feud between ATK and rival factions has been linked to multiple murders since 2017, creating a network of grievances that could be activated anywhere, anytime. The leaked footage of King Von talking to law enforcement about his safety concerns and requesting protective custody further illustrates the danger Ksoo faces. And GT. Chris. Hey, got a problem with gay people. And GT. Something that is easy for you to do. And GT. The most hardest decision I've ever NGT. Vaughn's desperation for protection shows just how ruthless the environment can be. He's essentially admitting he's a target, vulnerable and afraid. Now, imagine that feeling amplified tenfold, knowing that your own father has turned against you, painting a giant target on your back. The allegations in December 2024 that Ksoo was being mistreated in Duval County Jail, claiming he was mentally abused, housed in the psych ward with mentally ill inmates, and denied proper communication with his legal team, are deeply concerning. If those conditions were real, imagine how much worse things would get in state prison, where the guards have less oversight and the inmates have more freedom to move around and handle their business. This could be a deliberate strategy to destabilize him, to break him down, to make him more susceptible to manipulation and violence. Ultimately, Ksoo's situation isn't just about one crime or one trial. It's about a complex web of loyalty, betrayal, and violence that defines life in the streets and inside prison walls. It's a story about the consequences of choices, the weight of responsibility, and the enduring power of the streets. It's a reminder that in this world, there are no easy answers, no second chances, and no escaping the past. Yo, check this out. We've been following this case for a minute, watching the drama unfold in real time. Now the verdict's in. The judge banged the gavel, and it's hard to believe it's real. Ksoo sentenced. Goodbye forever. It's a gut punch, man, leaving everyone questioning everything we thought we knew about loyalty, betrayal, and the brutal reality of street life. We're diving deep into the roller coaster that is the Hakeem Robinson, aka Ksoo, situation. This isn't just another crime story. It's a consequence, a reflection of choices, and a painful lesson in how the streets and the system operate. And let's be honest, it's straight up tragic. We gotta rewind a little bit to understand the scope of this whole mess. Ksoo was just some random kid getting caught up. He was part of something bigger, tangled in a web of gang rivalry, diss tracks, and escalating tensions that ultimately boiled over into violence. It started with a dispute, a beef amplified by social media and fueled by a need to prove dominance. And when you mess with the wrong people, especially in Jacksonville, Florida, things don't end well. Remember that diss track? It wasn't just words on paper, man. It was a declaration of war, a gauntlet thrown down that Ksoo and his crew couldn't just ignore. Now, imagine being young, hungry, trying to make a name for yourself in a city where respect is earned through intimidation and street credibility. You're surrounded by people who preach loyalty, who swear they got your back. But how much of that is real, and how much is just talk? That's the question Ksoo, and a lot of others in that environment, were constantly grappling with. The source material says that there were a lot of rappers and people just dropping lyrics and flexing, right? But then it gets twisted into something real, something dangerous. Suddenly, those words have consequences, and those consequences are deadly. That's the line they crossed, and there's no going back from it. Let's talk about the family tree for a minute. The source text mentioned that the jury even asked for one. Seriously, how crazy is that? It wasn't just about who shot who, but who was connected to whom, who had a history with who. This was just a simple case of two people fighting. It was a whole ecosystem of relationships, grudges, and alliances, all intertwined and contributing to the ultimate downfall. Following that family tree felt like navigating a maze, with each connection revealing another layer of complexity and intrigue. And for the jury, it was crucial to understanding the context of the crime. It's insane how much this case was based around family. Then there's the whole thing with using rap lyrics as evidence. Can you believe it? The prosecution digging up old tracks, pulling lines out of context to try and paint a picture of guilt. Is that even fair? Where's the line between artistic expression and criminal intent? The defense fought back hard, arguing that they were turning performers into criminals, penalizing them for their creativity and exaggerations. But the judge had to decide whether those lyrics were enough to tip the scales toward a guilty verdict. It's a slippery slope, man. It really makes you think about the boundaries of free speech and how far the justice system is willing to go to prove a point. And the source text really breaks down how that became a critical moment in the trial. It really got people thinking. Let's be honest, the state had a strategy, and it was ruthless. They flipped witnesses, got them to testify against their own crew, offering them deals to ease their sentences. It's a classic move, a betrayal of loyalty that can leave you feeling empty inside. But when you're facing a life sentence, what choice do you have? This wasn't a friendly chat. It was a desperate plea for survival, a willingness to sacrifice everything to save yourself. And the state capitalized on that vulnerability, manipulating the system to their advantage. It's a dirty game, but it's the name of the game.
Trial for the 2020 murder of Charles McCormick Jr. is officially underway. Hakeem Robinson, better known as Ksoo, and Leroy Whitaker are being tried together with separate juries. Robinson is charged with first-degree murder as a criminal gang member, and Whitaker is charged with first-degree murder as a criminal gang member, burglary with assault or battery, and home invasion robbery. Both Robinson and Whitaker are alleged to be part of the ATK gang. Investigators allege that Robinson and Whitaker sought to kill McCormick Jr. because he made a rap song that dissed the late rapper Willie Addison, who is also Robinson's half-brother.
Dominique Barner, a.k.a. Buddha, was a key player in this whole saga. He spilled everything, laying out the plan, detailing the surveillance, and confessing to his role in the crime. He was the inside man, the one who knew the layout, who guided the crew to their target. And why did he do it? To lighten his sentence, to escape the harsh reality of prison life. But at what cost? The betrayal of his friends, the destruction of his reputation, the weight of knowing he played a crucial role in sending someone to prison for life. And the source mentioned that Barner's story wasn't exactly spotless. He was himself considered a paid assassin, a liar who had a history of playing both sides. The state was essentially building their case on the testimony of someone who wasn't entirely trustworthy. And speaking of unreliable witnesses, let's address the inconsistencies in Scotty's testimony. That whole thing with the tattoos. The witness initially said he didn't see any tattoos, then changed her story later on. It casts a shadow of doubt over the entire case, raises questions about the veracity of her account. The defense pounced on those inconsistencies, trying to dismantle her credibility, to create enough reasonable doubt to secure an acquittal. It was a cat-and-mouse game, a battle of wits, where the stakes were life and death. This whole situation underscores how fragile the justice system can be, how easily it can be swayed by flawed testimony and unreliable sources. Now consider Leroy Whitaker, aka Ksoo, facing a life sentence. Think about the weight of that, the reality of spending the rest of your days behind bars, cut off from the world, stripped of your freedom. Was it worth it? Was there a way to avoid this tragic outcome? We're left with so many unanswered questions, so much regret, a sense of what could have been. This ISN's just a story about a criminal. It's a story about a lost soul, a product of a broken system, a cautionary tale about the consequences of choices. And the aftermath, the potential for appeals. The defense isn't just going to roll over and accept this. They're going to scrutinize every aspect of the case, searching for any grounds to challenge the verdict. Ineffective assistance of counsel motions, arguments about improperly admitted evidence. It's all on the table. The legal battle isn't over. It's just entering a new phase. But even if they do manage to get a retrial, the odds are stacked against them. And then there's the looming threat of violence in prison. The source text highlighted how Ksoo, even after being sentenced, remains a target. Rival gangs, disgruntled inmates, people who want to exact revenge. The dangers are everywhere. Prison isn't just about punishment, it's about survival. And for Ksoo, every moment is a gamble. It's a stark reminder that even behind bars, the cycle of violence continues. This case, it's a tragedy on every level. It's a testament to the destructive power of street beef, the failings of the justice system, and the devastating consequences of poor choices. It's a story that will stay with us for a long time, a reminder of the fragility of life, the importance of second chances, and the enduring search for justice in a world that often feels anything but fair. We're left pondering what kind of society creates situations like this, how we can break the cycle of violence, and whether true redemption is ever truly possible. This isn't just a sentence, it's a goodbye, a farewell to a life cut short, a poignant reminder of the heavy price we pay for our choices. And as we follow the appeals process and monitor Ksoo's safety within the prison walls, we can't help but wonder, is this really the end? More. The word hangs in the air, a heavy question mark over everything we've just witnessed. More what? More pain? More loss? More unanswered questions? The sentence handed down felt final, a full stop at the end of a tragically short story. But the reality is, this isn't the end. Not really. Because the reverberations of Ksoo's choices, the fallout from this entire situation, are just beginning to ripple outwards. We're talking about a life, abruptly curtailed, a young man swallowed whole by a system that seems perpetually stuck in a cycle of its own making. It's easy to point fingers, to assign blame, to demand retribution. But what about understanding? What about looking past the surface and seeing the person, the circumstances, the choices that led him here? It's easy to demonize, to label, to forget that behind every statistic, behind every courtroom drama, there's a human being. And Ksoo was a human being. A flawed one, yes, but still deserving of a chance, a sliver of hope, a pathway to something better. Did he make mistakes? Absolutely. Were those mistakes costly? Beyond measure. But does that justify this finality? The appeal process is already underway. A long shot, many would say. The legal team, tirelessly working to dissect the evidence, to challenge the verdict, to argue for leniency. It's a David versus Goliath battle, and the odds are stacked against them. The justice system, as we've seen, isn't always about justice. It's about process, about procedure, about a complex web of laws and regulations that often feel detached from the realities of the streets. It's a system that often fails those who need it most, perpetuating a cycle of disadvantage and despair. Ksoo's case is a glaring example of that failure. And what about his safety? Inside those prison walls, he's vulnerable, exposed to a brutal environment where survival depends on strength, alliances, and a willingness to play the game. The prison itself is a microcosm of the larger society, a place where violence and despair thrive. He's not just
Jr., better known as Lil Buck, was shot and killed in 2020 in what investigators believe was a gang-related attack right outside of an Arlington shopping center. Action News Jack's Madison Foglio is live outside of the Duval County Courthouse, and the opening statements just wrapped up. In Madison, the defense attorneys for both men showed similar strategies, you noticed.
serving time. He's entering a war zone. It's a terrifying prospect, a stark reminder that even behind bars, the cycle of violence continues. The fear isn't just for his family. It's a collective anxiety, a nagging worry that settles in your gut. Is he really okay? Is he safe? It's a constant question, a silent prayer whispered in the hopes of a miracle. We're told to believe in redemption, to believe that everyone deserves a second chance. But is that really true? Can someone truly change? Can they escape the shadow of their past? It's a question that has haunted philosophers and theologians for centuries. Ksoo's story forces us to confront that question head-on. He's a walking paradox, a symbol of both despair and hope. He is the embodiment of everything we hope to avoid and everything we fear becoming. The tragedy of this situation isn't just about Ksoo. It's about everyone touched by his choices, his family, his friends, his community. It's about the ripple effect of violence, the enduring pain it leaves in its wake. His mother, his siblings, his extended family. Their lives are forever altered by this. They are left to grapple with the grief, the shame, the uncertainty of the future. They are left to pick up the pieces of a shattered dream. How do you reconcile the image of a loving child with the reality of a convicted criminal? It's a burden no one should have to bear. And then there's the community, the neighborhood where Ksoo grew up, the streets that shaped him, the environment that both nurtured and challenged him. This isn't just about one individual. It's about a systemic problem. Poverty, lack of opportunity, inadequate education, exposure to violence. These are the factors that contribute to the cycle of despair. Ksoo's story is a symptom of a larger disease, a reflection of the inequalities that plague our society. We need to address the root causes of these problems, not just the symptoms. We need to invest in communities, to provide opportunities, to empower individuals to break free from the cycle of violence. The legal team has to meticulously comb through every detail, every nuance of the case, searching for any glimmer of hope. They're fighting not just for Ksoo, but for the principles of justice itself. Every piece of evidence scrutinized, every legal precedent examined, every argument refined. It's a grueling process, a race against time, a desperate plea for a different outcome. This isn't just a legal battle. It's a fight for humanity, a plea for compassion, a hope for a second chance. We need to ask ourselves some uncomfortable questions. How did we get here? What choices did we make, as a society, that led Ksoo down this path? How can we create a world where young people have opportunities, where they feel valued, where they don't feel compelled to resort to violence? It's a complex challenge, one that requires a multifaceted approach. It isn't about blame, it's about responsibility. It's about acknowledging our shortcomings and striving to do better. We cannot continue to look away. We need to engage, to empathize, to act. And then, there's the lingering question of forgiveness. Can we truly forgive Ksoo? Can we move past the pain, the anger, the sense of betrayal? It's a difficult question, one that demands introspection and empathy. Forgiveness isn't about condoning his actions. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment. It's about finding a path to healing and reconciliation. It's about recognizing that everyone is capable of change. The silence surrounding the case is deafening, broken only by the sporadic news reports and the hushed conversations within the community. The lack of widespread outrage is unsettling, a chilling reminder of how easily we become desensitized to violence and tragedy. It's time to break that silence, to amplify the voices of those who are suffering, to demand justice and accountability. The appeal process isn't just about legal technicalities. It's about hope, a fragile, flickering flame in the darkness, fueled by the unwavering belief that things can be different. It's a lifeline thrown to a drowning man, a desperate plea for salvation. Every legal argument, every piece of evidence, every sympathetic witness is a step towards that possibility. It's a chance to rewrite the ending, to create a different narrative. And what if, despite the best efforts of the legal team, the appeal fails? What then? Does that mean Ksoo is truly sentenced to a life of regret and despair? Is there no hope for redemption? No possibility of a second chance? That's a question that haunts us all. A chilling reminder of the limitations of our justice system. It makes us question everything, forcing us to examine our values and beliefs. This ISN's just about Ksoo. It's about all the young people growing up in similar circumstances, facing similar challenges. It's about breaking the cycle of violence, creating opportunities, and empowering individuals to reach their full potential. It's about building a society where everyone has a chance to thrive. It's a collective responsibility, a shared commitment to creating a better future. We are left with a profound sense of loss, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, and a deep-seated desire for justice. It's a story that will stay with us for a long time, a constant echo of what could have been, and a catalyst for change. The memory of Ksoo will endure, a beacon of hope in the darkness, and a call to action. It's time to listen. It's time to act. It's time to change the narrative. The weight of this moment hangs heavy, a stark reminder that a life, lost too soon, carries a responsibility for all of us. The weight of this moment hangs heavy, a stark reminder that a life, lost too soon, carries a responsibility for all of us.
Him to make a phone call to Raekwon Howard, right? And in your presence, you say he tells him what he's going to do, right?
Right.
That makes Raekwon Howard a witness for you guys, right? Against you guys.
I wouldn't have knew that.
How would you not have known that?
I don't know the legal system like that. So
You do know the legal system, Mr. Barno.
I wouldn't have knew that would have made him a witness. At the time, I wouldn't have knew that.
The fact that Raekwon Howard had a conversation with Hakeem Robinson where you claim he confessed to him is not a witness in the case?
I wouldn't have knew that.
And let's talk about what you do know about Raekwon Howard. What do you know about him?
As in,
You know anything other than his name?
I know his nickname,
Which is?
Pooh,
Anything else?
50K.
Okay. Any other details about him? When's his birthday?
I have no idea.
Isn't it true that